So we've been looking at anime recently. We did that review of the anime that are on Netflix.
Seven Deadly Sins.
Yeah,
check
Seven
it
Deadly
out.
Sins. Yeah, we checked it out.
But there's also a really, actually good anime on
something you should check out.
Netflix. Rurouni Kenshin, very classic, very 90s.
Perfect. Back when they had the money to just throw at, this legendary manga.
And that's what started it all, man. That's what started the whole trend towards One Piece and Bleach.
Yeah, the guy, one of the manga artists for One Piece actually
worked as an assistant.
Exactly, worked as an assistant on Rurouni Kenshin. So.
But anyway, there's a manga and then the anime's on Netflix right now. They did 3 live-action movies in the past 3 years?
Yeah.
And
they're amazing.
There's some of the best adaptations of anime into live action, if not the best.
The biggest problem is that trying to translate things that happen in anime to live action, it's not the same scale. It's really hard to actually, you put the wig on someone and you're like, oh wait, that doesn't look, that's not, okay.
Yeah, they are completely different mediums, and manga artists, it's one guy sits there and draws all of whatever he wants for years.
It's very indulgent. So finding a way to translate that to an audience is, a live action audience is very hard, but...
In the condensing, they turned it into 3 movies, and it's just the smallest sliver. So during the Bakumatsu, when the West was trying to open up Japan, there was kind of a mini civil war that happened. And Kenshin, the main character, was a shadow assassin for
the new government.
Yeah, the new government that was
formed. He killed a bunch of people for the right reasons.
Right.
But he's racked with guilt.
To atone for his crimes, basically, he decides he's gonna never kill again and just wander around. Rurouni is a vagabond.
Yeah. But because he killed so many people and because he was so famously skilled, he's got rivals coming in. He's got people from the new and old governments who've got tons of drama with him. This is an anime about Japanese history.
Yeah, historical fiction.
Exactly.
It's connected into so many real things that a lot of people look at it. And it's a very romantic period in Japan, and it's that period where they're starting to get things like trains and I don't know, blazers. You're in that period of you have your last generation of samurai.
There's not going to be any new people who are gonna still be as good at swords as these people.
So the first movie, it focuses on kind of the beginning of even the manga. Is Kenshin is wandering around and he's got to find his bae,
basically
his home base, his little friend group gets built up.
He's got nothing.
Yeah. He's
So
just wandering around because part of it too, because he was such a famous killer, there are all these people kind of we gotta find him and hunt him down and kill him because I want to be famous too.
Yeah, he's got a lot of title on him. To distance himself from that, he famously, his anime ability, his thing, is that he's got a blade that has a blade on the reverse side. It's the reverse blade. So basically he's swinging around a metal baseball bat because he's I trained my whole life. I'm not going to stop swinging swords, but I just won't use a bladed sword. It works as a really good metaphor for what Kenshin is going through as a character, because there's this part of him that still wants to kill or still take that route because he meets these people who are, diseased, horrible ghosts of his past who he would have killed had it been 5 years ago. So there's a lot of tension in the story of Rurouni Kenshin where it's do I flip my sword and then use the killing side? Do I revert to my anger? So it's pretty classic anime in that sense.
Yeah.
And they translate that really well in the movie, I think.
Yeah, that's the thing, of any anime, Rurouni Kenshin, it's the power system isn't there's no magic, there's no devil fruit, there's no extra bullshit. The idea is all of these people, the way they can do their kind of superhuman ability things is they are just preternaturally talented.
Oh, yeah.
So the idea of the reverse sword, it's a really simple concept, and then it's just from there it's how fast and creatively can he use it.
And what's interesting is in the manga, of course, they write down all these crazy attacks and they draw out all these combos that Kenshin does, but it is translated so well in the movies. These are some of the best fight scenes I've ever seen in my life. Ever. As far as the choreography goes, as far as interaction with debris around it. It's crazy. It's some good stuff.
One of the interesting things they did in the movie they talked about was like jump like lines and everything, like using like cables to jump. They used cables to like pull him faster, like across the ground.
Yeah, and it's because there's no real height. They just pulled him. Speed.
So like they have him like flash through like a crowd of people, hitting them all like just at like a speed that we can appreciate is like impossible. But
but
only just. The first movie, you know, like you settle that like, you know, he protects his girl from, you know, some gang leader and everything.
Aggressor, and then there's this man who's claiming his title, and he's kind of got like super key powers or whatever.
He's got like hypnosis, like he can like
just
flash
like,
at people.
I'm that intimidating, I can make you freeze.
But like really the first movie is honestly like was clearly like the proving ground for them to make the like most popular arc, the Kyoto Inferno arc.
Oh, Kyoto Inferno.
Where the whole team, you know, like gets together and has to fight like all these people.
Oh man.
So the second movie is where that picks up, and you have to see Kenshin's like will get broken. Like it's you know, the second act, like
gotta have it.
He comes up against enemies that he cannot beat at his current pace. He gets his sword broken in, so he has to kind of like come to terms with like, do I need to go back to where I can kill or not?
Yeah, so then he goes back to his old master and he tries to learn a new technique. I mean, it's a pretty classic story.
Yeah, it is exceedingly classic samurai. It's just it being in that historical fiction period is what really makes it not like, because like, I mean, you think traditional samurai, like we want like mountains,
very much,
because like this is a samurai kind of set in that like turn of the century for Japan, like technologically and culturally. It's really different from like, you know, your Seven Samurai.
I remember we were talking about the set pieces, like they and I mean, this is a beloved series, and I'm sure filmmakers in Japan know how to do classic Japan.
Yeah.
Like, the movie is about the action sequences.
Yeah,
the movies know this. I mean, the story is about fighting, so it's not like that's ever not.
It's definitely a martial arts like story.
Oh yeah, and they throw it down. I mean, they give you at least 3 or 4 solid fights a movie.
Yeah.
And you know, Kenshin always has his moves described fluidly. You know, they give the proper amount of time, like he's charging attacks or he's focusing.
They have like the choreography is so good about like letting you appreciate like what just happened or what's about to happen. But it's like not just slowing it down, but like if he's gonna do like his signature move of like drawing his sword and like cutting something quickly, like you have that moment where he has to sheath his sword and like you get to like slow down and like
goes into the pose.
The suspense like builds up and you're ready for something new to happen. Like it's honestly, by the time they get to the third movie, it's so beautiful.
They're just good at it. Yeah, they get a lot of practice. They destroy a lot of environments. We're talking about earlier.
Environmental destruction is big.
It's so important though, especially when you get these scrappy fights.
Well, because exactly, they get scrappy. Like as the fights build in intensity, it's good to see that like that is having ramifications like on the world, and we can appreciate that.
And characters take damage. You know, they get bloody. This isn't just like 2 superheroes smashing together and then one of them wins.
It's not that like 70s kung fu thing of like you see them like jump 8 feet in the air like and then kind of land somewhere else. Like
it's real world stuff.
Really beautifully and just tightly choreographed.
I don't know how many like doubles he had or if it was just him. I mean, half the actors just look like J-pop stars, so it's like I don't know. Maybe he did that, or he's got enough hair in his eyes that it could be anyone. Let's be real. But the way they do it, it's really
so
it's cool. It's cool. You start rooting for him. Because you start understanding how strong he can be. One of the characters in the second movie is particularly fast, one of the enemies. It's so fast that he's like running along a stagecoach, and they really translate that he's fast. And then Kenshin fights him, and they're equal, and then they fight differently.
That's the whole thing. Like Kenshin gets to fight so many people because he's fighting at a handicap at all times. The reverse sword is, I mean, he has to keep hitting them until literally they're down.
Kenshin could kill
with a sword, he could cut them in half.
Oh yeah, at any time.
One hit.
He could he's holding back a lot.
Yeah.
Because Kenshin will fight, I mean, that's a very famous scene. The first episode of the anime, the first chapter of the manga, and the first part of the first movie is Kenshin clearing out a whole dojo of just dudes.
Yeah, thugs.
And his control and ability, like, I can take on 20 people. That's not a problem. That's how skilled I am. And I'm not even going to kill any of them. It's really impressive as far as the way that they communicate that in the movie, because it's so easy to just, have him sling his arm and then you see 3 people fly out a window. But he takes down and grapples, basically judo throws and smashes his way through just this huge crowd. And he does it just keeping his pace. He's clearly doing it. It's not like, you know, these people come up to him and he's just toying with them.
Yeah,
so.
kind of speaking of like from like an acting, like I mean, all the actors do a good job. Like Kenshin is very like in control until
he's
pressed and not.
Exactly.
And the other characters, I mean, honestly, like more beyond them even acting like kind of like these anime characters, you know, with wide leg, like laughing at the sky and stuff like that. But honestly, all of them also do a really good job of acting in the action sequences, which can be really difficult.
Yeah,
in movies, keeping character consistent, like even in your fight scenes, like Sanosuke's kind of like, you know, a rough, like, you know, rough and tumble, like kind of gangster, and you really see that in all his fights. He's kind of laughing and like stumbling and like picking up chairs and like
enjoying it, you know,
enjoying like
the way that he's fighting. It clearly describes his personality.
And then you have like, you know, like the super royal ninja character, and he's super stoic and like trying to be really technique, but also like in control, like not letting himself like take damage.
And that's so important in a movie in these movies where a lot of it is fighting. You know, that's where you want to communicate the personality. One of the villains, well, the final villain of the third movie, I mean, you get this sense of who he is the whole movie, but the last fight that you have characterizes him.
Defines him.
It's amazing because you start thinking, no, that's how he would fight if he was this kind of person.
Yeah.
So you start realizing these characters are defined, you know, by the fights that they do and how they're fighting. And that sounds kind of like obvious, like that's what we do, you know, that's what you would do, but it's something that's missed out a lot in combat.
Even just looking at like it as a special movie, I mean, it's a modern martial arts movie that was done, like more than even just being an anime movie. I mean, like it's not just a CGI like, you know, smorgasbord fest of just like, you know, let's make a lot of moving things that are blurry.
There's no CGI.
Exactly. No, not at all. I mean, the fire, I guess.
Yeah,
like,
the fire.
Like, obviously fire, but like all of what there is to appreciate about the fights like has to happen between people and characters and mean something because they're the majority of the movie.
And it's felt.
Yeah.
And that's how the environmental destruction, that's how the damage, that's how the tension builds. You know, there's obviously a good score. I don't remember it being
it's solid. Like it's definitely every character has their theme, kind of like an anime, which is good.
It's good. Everything else, we've gushed about the fight scenes.
Yeah.
It's, you know, there's a couple jokes in the first one that cement his personality.
Kinda, yeah.
But honestly, this is a very active, like you were saying, a lot of the actors move. We were just talking about that one character, just how she walked and how it was like, oh no, that's totally her.
Clop, clop.
You know, so it's very much. There are other times in the movie where characters are just kind of saying these plot lines, and you're like, okay. All right, and a couple of the side characters are weak.
As much as we talk about, like, it's great that they kind of, like, move into the fights, like, I mean, they do, like, they kind of expect you to know Rurouni Kenshin's story, because they really, like, clop through,
they
everything else.
Like, the first movie,
first movie, they kind of, like, it's like, okay, this is Kenshin, like, the next two movies were not, like, slowing down for anybody who doesn't know this.
And
like,
even I remember watching the second movie and just being like, who is this guy?
Yeah.
Okay, but then the thing is, they reward you. It's like, so we had to do this plot. Here's a 15-minute complex sword fight in between this forest that's just gonna blow your mind.
It's definitely weak on story, but it's definitely crutching on the fact, like, well, the manga story is good, the anime story is good, we're hoping that you come in appreciating that already, and are really just here for, I don't know, the, like...
sword fighting? Yeah. I mean, I would not suggest doing anything other than watching both the second two movies at the same time.
Yeah, because the first movie is, like, a standalone, and then, like, the other two are part one and part two.
Yeah,
like, absolutely.
And they don't make any attempt to, like, take a break, really.
Yeah.
And the tension is there. So, that's
check them out, watch them. They're good. I mean, and if you find it interesting, I mean, definitely check out the rest of his stuff.
Oh yeah, the manga is impeccable.
The manga's it's the first manga like I read all the way through and was like super into. The anime starts really well. It's slow. I mean, it's a 90s anime.
Yeah, they have time, so they're
then they do hit just a like 45 episode filler arc that killed the series. But we'll talk about that in another review, so stay tuned for that.
Yeah, check the movies out, definitely.